are in the right place. At Clarity Corner with Christiana, we peel back the layers that are clouding your ability to see and show you ways you can reclaim your life and your communication. It's not what you know, it's what you implement that makes all the difference. Welcome to Clarity Corner with Christiana. Thank you so much for joining today. We have a very special show for you today. I don't know about you, but if you've ever felt disturbed, dull, or distracted, if you've been pulled off course by every time you turn on the TV and things are crazy, today's show is going to help you maintain a clear mind, understand what's happening, and give you simple tools to be able to pull yourself back so that way you can accomplish what you want in your life and you can improve not only your own peace of mind, but then also shift and help the people around you just by being that place of calm for other people. I have a very special guest joining me. So on the second show of the month, I like to talk about systems, right? What systems have you been using? What gaps did you have in the previous year? But I really want to take time to dive into today's show because I have this very, very special guest. It doesn't matter what you know. It doesn't matter the skills you have. If you easily get triggered or distracted, you can pull yourself right out of what you know you should be doing. I don't know about you, but that has happened to me. So does that happen to you?
It has.
Exactly, right? Nobody is immune from this. And if you don't control your mind will control you and you'll end up exhausted and frustrated and spinning your wheels. And I really want to be able to give you every ounce, and thank God Ray called in early. I want to give you every ounce of being able to just engage with us on the show today because this woman is spectacular. She's a master yogi. She has founded the World Yoga Institute. She's a master martial artist. She's a chemist. And she started her own 100% fresh skincare line, which, by the way, I use and has transformed my skin. It's just been an incredible. I've never found anything I like. And this is something that not only feels amazing, but you see a difference. And then her list of accolades goes on and on and on. I mean, I think she's had 10 lifetimes in this lifetime. So I want to be able to share her with you. So I'm going to jump to her earlier than she's expecting. So everybody please welcome Ray Indigo.
Well, hello, Christiana. What an introduction. Like, you can't see me, but I'm blushing. Like, who needs makeup?
Exactly. You're so funny. So I jumped ahead. If you want to call in, if you have questions with what Ray's talking about today, you can call in. The number is +1, because I know there's some people even outside the US listening, +1 727 441 3000. Again, 727 441 3000. So Ray, would you just give a little background about who you are and why you're so incredible?
Well, I love life and I love people. So I've spent most of my lifetime figuring out ways to make people joyous, happy, feel good, feel powerful, feel alive. And with that kind of viewpoint, nothing really stops you. You know, you'll use any technology to help others.
Absolutely. Well, what's people might not know about you, it's easy to say, oh, I want to help people, but you help people. You had some big challenges going on, like not being able to walk. Like, can you share, like, this is not just something, oh, I decided to do this. You transformed your body. You transformed your entire way of being.
Well, like most people born into this world, something's kind of coming to break us. And at a young age, I had damaged my knees really bad with sports. I grew up around a lot of trauma, and at a certain point, you have to become accountable for that, or have a look and say, well, how do I want to live the rest of my life? Do I want to not be able to walk? You know, when I was 18, I couldn't walk. I would come into a room and I'd look for what to lean against, or I'd use a cane. I had fully prolapsed abdomen. I had a very distracted mind, emotionally disturbed, frustrated, angry, and life looks bleak.
Yeah. Well, and what I love, I mean, I've worked with you now for over a year, and it's transformed my ability to be able to stay present in my life, to handle whatever. If you saw my day today, and now I understand what you're talking about, Ray, of like nonstop, every 5 minutes, it was planned out up until I walked in the studio and I was like, oh my gosh, but it was joyous.
It's joyous.
There was joyous. And when I noticed my mind, I just applied the tool that you shared the other day. And so one of the questions that I have for you is, we all have an idea of what we think the mind is, but can you define the mind for us?
Well, so first I want to separate the concept of the physical brain, the thing that's inside of your skull that's made of fat and synapses, the physical brain, which is I think of it a bit like a switchboard or a mechanism. And so that's one aspect. We want that to be in a good condition and to be healthy. But the mind is something else. So the way I kind of look at the mind is, how would I say this? So the easiest way, have you ever gone to a party or an event and you walk in and you can tell that someone over to your left is really angry, and you can tell that someone to your right is really happy, and you see someone in front of you and they're really sad. And it's not just by their physical expressions. It's like there's something tangible around them.
Mm-hmm.
So I refer to this as the mind field, like a space, so a physical space where the emotions, the images, the visualizations, there's some sort of tangible element of them. And it's not fixed. It's always changing. It changes with your thoughts. When you wake up in the morning, your mind or your mind field is in a certain way. An hour after you wake up, it's in a different way. Halfway through your day, it's in a different way. And each time it changes, we tend to think, because we're so close to it or fused with it, that that's us. But if it's changing all the time, are we sure that it's us?
Oh, that's a brilliant question.
Yeah. So I would say that it's for most people that your mind is occupying a space around you, not just in your brain, usually 3 to 10 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be full of all kinds of other things.
So is that like when you wake up and you have something bad happen and then suddenly your day goes completely down the drain?
Well, let's look at something that really happens to a lot of people. You don't just wake up. You were up all night worrying about something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then you get up and it's like everything you touch, you walk into the kitchen, you go to make tea or coffee, and you're somehow disturbed, and you knock over the pot and it breaks. And now because you have to clean up the glass, you're late for your meeting. You don't have time for your shower, and you don't have time to do your hair correctly. And you see that all of this begins to stack into a feeling of frustration, like the world is collapsing on you. And this is it's a very common thing, and it's very quick to change it. But people don't know how to.
That's why I'm so excited to have you on the show today, because when you shared, what we talked about yesterday, when you shared this, I'd really love for you to expand upon this. So what is a way, you also talked about the hierarchy of the mind, the body, and the spirit. So can you give us just a little background on that so people understand how everything fits together?
Well, yeah, I'm really happy to. So we have to define a few terminologies. And can you hear me okay?
Perfectly.
Okay, it's good. Okay. So the first one is we have this idea, you've heard this word, spirit. And depending on your background, you may or may not receive the word well. We can use many different words, like in yoga, we would say Atman or Brahma or Purusha. And all of these words just mean one thing, that there is something that is non-physical,
mm-hmm.
that's almost as if it's not of this world, that has no time, no space, no differentiation. It's unspoiled, it's unborn, it's undying, it's always awake, it's always aware. And that thing doesn't change, and that is us. Now, how do you indicate a non-physical thing with physical words and language? Gives a bit of a conundrum. So it's something that you have to kind of do on your own. You have to look for yourself and say, okay, what part of me is continuous and doesn't change? Well, it's not the emotions.
Mm-hmm.
not the body. It's not your thoughts. It's not your memories. It's not the way you recall your memories. It's not your ideas. So there's something almost like a viewpoint. It just doesn't change. And so that part of you,
Mm-hmm.
because it's outside of the physical world, it's non-physical, has the ability to direct all the other aspects. Now, one could say that the body is less, how would you say this? So your body is a dense thing, but your mind is also physical. It's just less dense. So they work hierarchically. So for instance, like you can just check this.
Okay.
The easy way to check it is go ahead and look for your hand. You can see that you can make your mind look for your hand.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see that you can have ideas about the hand. You can imagine the hand to be bigger, smaller, hairy, have an extra finger. You can do all of this. That's the mind. But now tell me how many times the hand looks for you.
Never.
It just doesn't.
You make it so simple. It's like, well,
Whoa.
I love what you always say about yourself. You're Captain Obvious.
It's Captain Obvious, but all of these things are so obvious that they're hidden, and we get stuck in complexities. It's just that the mind governs the body. So if I want you to do a high martial arts kick,
mm-hmm.
I have to teach your mind to direct towards all the points in that movement. It's not that the body does it; the mind directs. So the mind is in control of the body. You can start thinking of things that make you upset, and you'll have physiological changes. You'll have hormonal shifts. You'll have panic attacks, or you'll feel at ease and peace.
Mm.
So, and the body resides within the mind.
Okay.
Does that help?
That does actually a lot, because when you understand, like, the spirit, it directs all the other aspects. So if we can control the mind, then we can direct the body.
Yeah, and what controls the mind is the spirit.
Excellent. So we're going to go in. So guys, if you're listening, make sure you stay tuned after the break. We're going to go to a quick break. And then when we come back, Ray, you're going to give us some ways to start handling our mind so we can direct it, control our body.
Sounds great to me. I love it.
Excellent. All right. Guys, stay tuned, and we will see you in just a minute.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
A few years ago, my skin was a mess. It was dry, lifeless, and aging fast. My busy travel schedule teaching yoga across the world was really catching up on me. I tried everything I could find, and it just got worse. So I created my own product based on 100% natural ingredients, and what a difference. Now my skin is glowing and radiant, and I look and feel 10 years younger. The serum I used is called F3. It's our best seller, and I've created a whole range of products to suit all skin types. So if you want actual results using 100% natural skincare, visit formulaflawless.com.
Are you hoping to grow your business but not sure how? Has your business flattened out? It may be your messaging. This is Maureen Famiana with MEF Media. I've been in the TV broadcasting business for more than 30 years, and I enjoy helping businesses and entrepreneurs go to the next level. It's about strategy and branding, finding the right story to tell, and then getting media exposure. I'm here to help you grow your business. Find me on Facebook or my website at MEF Media, and let's launch your next chapter today.
Don't turn it off now. You need this stuff. Tampa Bay's Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hey, everybody, it's Christiana at Clarity Corner. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us. I have Ray Indigo here with us. She is a master yogi, master martial artist, and she has launched her own. She's a chemist and has launched her own 100% natural skincare. You heard her commercial, formulaflawless.com. She is here to help us gain control and maintain a clear mind. So we were talking about before about how there was hierarchical, is that right, Ray?
Hierarchical, yeah.
Caught myself up there. I'll just own it. So there's hierarchical systems of spirit, which directs the body, or it directs everything else. And then there's the mind, which then directs the body. So if we are having something happen in the body, if we handle the mind, that will clear it up. Yes?
Yeah, for a lot of things. I mean, obviously if you're walking down the street, you get hit by a car, it's going to help you to regulate your breath. But, we don't want to blame everything We don't want to get into a pattern of blaming everything that comes. Like, what did I do wrong in the mind?
Right.
Yeah. So the idea of a hierarchy is that we can spot at which point we want to begin to address something. So if you have tight hips, you can spend all day kind of thinking, I have tight hips and this sucks. Or you can direct your mind towards doing certain movements, certain opportunities that begin to create a change in the body.
Excellent. So with everything going on in the world, I mean, there's so much, the news is 100% designed to distract us, put us in fear. I mean, it's nonstop, and it really disrupts the mind, or disrupts my mind. When I'm here in the studio, I have I don't know if it's a benefit of hearing all the news, and it's really distracting. But how can we start gaining control of our mind? What is a simple thing that we can do? Do you have a process for us?
I have a lot of different things. The one that we addressed yesterday in the lecture, I think, is a really useful one that we can revisit. So basically, as we're moving through life,
Mm-hmm.
we're kind of in conflict with many, many things, and we don't even realize it. So let's say, for instance, you wake up in the morning, you go to make coffee, and your husband or your wife is already there, and they're kind of in a bad mood. You know, they got up before you, they got a bunch of bad emails, and you walk into the kitchen and you're not quite awake, and you're going to make coffee, and they're like, oh, look at you sleeping in. And they start to kind of put you down. And what happens a lot of the time is that you start to have a reaction. You're like, wow, why are you so mean in the morning? And now all of a sudden we go down this whole rabbit hole of conflict that was unnecessary and neither people want.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the techniques that I offer to people to kind of deal with these situations that are going to come up in life, whether it's traffic or you knock over the coffee pot and you're upset, or you walk and you see your spouse and they say something that you don't like, is this concept of just allowing it to be. So, and you hear that and you're like, okay, fine, that's obvious. I can allow it to be. But no, what does that really mean? So I always recommend that we practice allowing something first with physical objects.
So give me an example.
Yeah. So if you want to look around you, like I'm sitting here and I've been doing consultations today. So I have my notebook and I have the pen sitting on top of it. And oftentimes, if you look to your notebook, you'll have an idea about the notebook, or you'll create a picture about the notebook. But how many times do you look at it and say, okay, there you are, and I'm going to completely allow you to have your space. And what happens when you begin to allow things is that it creates the tiniest bit of distance. Now, distance is a amazing property for us to arrive at kind of a serenity and a joy in our life. So yesterday I used the analogy of imagine that you're stuck in traffic in LA. You're on the 405, which is particularly unfun because there's just no escape. You're stuck there for hours of your life and you know it. And you're sitting there and it's gotten dark and everyone's kind of grumpy and honking. And it's just generally kind of an unpleasant situation. Now imagine I come in a helicopter and I say, hey, hop out of that, get in the helicopter, and we begin to go up into the air. Now, all that's happened is a little bit of distance, but all of a sudden the lines of cars look beautiful, like a painting, and you can see all the way to the ocean, and it's pretty, and you feel yourself just with this bit of space. You're no longer in the situation so heavily that your experience, your reference, your idea around it starts to change. Now, what you have to ask yourself is which situation is true? Is the one where you're stuck in the car or the one where you're in the helicopter more or less true?
Well, I love that. It's the viewpoint on how you choose to look at it, right? You can, one example that I have is, for me in my life, is lines form behind me, not in front of me. So if there's a line in front of me, then clearly I'm supposed to meet somebody and there's a purpose. and I keep that viewpoint on it. And I always end up like giggling or laughing when I'm in line because I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to meet someone. And I would say at least good 90% of the time, a line always comes in after me. I figured if I can do it with parking spaces, I should be able to do it with this. So is that kind of what you're talking about? It's like just giving that different perspective?
Yeah. So this is exactly what I'm talking about, but also you're seeing that there's a secondary effect that when we have this ability, and it's consciously done, it's something you practice to create a little bit of space. And that space is done in our ideas about the experience. We create just a little bit of space. It's almost as if we can synchronize better with the universe. We become more in tune. And then we find that time we were stuck in line at the post office for an hour, we met our new best friend, or we finished reading that book. While the other people in line with you are huffing and puffing and miserable and upset and clenching their jaw and tensing their shoulders. So it's really like by changing the way we use our mind and our perceptive tools, we can not only have a different experience, but also literally change the reality we wake up in.
So when you said just allow, what I heard, and if you can maybe expand upon this, is that I don't just see a cup in front of me. I have a previous idea of what a cup is, and then I put all my attachments of what a cup is on top of the cup that's in front of me, whether I actually see it or not. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So maybe you prefer red cup. Maybe you like a mug that's wider at the bottom and more narrow at the top. And someone gave you a commonplace mug, just a cylinder shape, and it's blue. So even though you might not realize it, you look at that, and it happens really fast. So your mind creates these images many, many, many times in a second. So it's so fast that we oftentimes don't see it. So you look at the mug or the glass, and you have a memory, you have a preconception, you have a preference there, and it might be subtle, and it might not be very big, but you put it there. And then the next thing that happens is you start to resist the object in your vicinity, and you don't even realize it. You start to push against it. Now, Christiana, let me ask you, if I walk up to you and I push against you, what are you going to generally do? If you ever were on a farm and you pushed against a cow, or you're trying to move cattle and you push against them, what do?
They push back.
They push back. And so what happens is that we lose space. You push against something, but you're not conscious. It's not like you're conscious. It's like, I'm going to push against the cow, and then when it pushes against me, I'm going to take it in a direction. That would be conscious, using forces to your success. It's unconscious because you have a preconceived notion about the glass, and you don't know that you do. So you put it there, and you push against reality you don't allow, and now you end up with this feeling of a subtle resistance and frustration that you paint all over your physical reality in a way that you can't spot or change. And that causes your emotional state, your mental state, your abilities in life to subtly degrade over time.
I noticed when you shared this with me yesterday. So today, my day got, let's just say, renegotiated to pick up my mother-in-law to bring her to an assisted living closer to our house. And I had a very booked day. And I said, well, I could fight against it, right? And say, or whatever, right? Because that wasn't what I had planned. But what I said is, okay, my choice is, let me just reschedule my first 2 meetings. And I said, okay, how is this going to be an incredible opportunity? And instead of forcing people into the direction I thought that they should go, I just showed up and had my intention and just let everybody be. And what I noticed is the biggest aha came for me today is, because under pressure, right? So it's easy to say this when things are going well, when I'm like, okay, I have a very strict amount of time I have in order to get back for my appointment. And I got back from my appointment with 3 minutes to spare, with zero stress, joyous the entire time. And it was just beautiful. As soon as I let people be and I didn't push my agenda on them, I just let them be, and we knew the agenda. Everybody had a good time. Everybody felt more improved and happier. It was mind-blowing to me that I got more done in that amount of time, and it actually created more space where I handled 10 other things in a 45-minute period. And I was like, oh my God, this is so easy. It actually became playful, where before when I push against, I'd get less done.
Yep. Yeah, because So this is a perfect example. So this is, again, the hierarchy. And let me explain it. So the hierarchy here is, as we're moving through our life, whatever is happening to you, to stay in a high frequency emotional state, not in a forceful way. That's the thing. We're not forcing it and like guilting ourselves. Like, I have to be joyous. We're not doing that. What you're actually doing is, by allowing things to exist around you, you create a space. And in that space, the frequencies, instead of crashing into each other, because everything's emitting frequencies, instead of crashing into each other, they're able to soften, reside. And you feel like you're making the hierarchical choice. I'm going to be joyous. Okay, all these things I didn't have planned in my day just came up. I can resist them, get upset, have an emotional process, get distracted, and all of that burns up energy, time, resources. Or I can say, this is what's happening. Okay. Anyways doing. All right. Anyways doing. and you can say, and this is how my days are, Today, I have been back to back since 9 a.m. I had to finish the call a minute before I jumped on this one. and so I could be like, I have no time or space. But the person I spoke to before this, I was totally in love with. Amazing being. What a joy. I'm totally in love with you. Amazing being. So where's the problem? Oh, I have to go to the mechanic because my tire is flat. Guess what? From my viewpoint, he's an amazing being, and I allow, and we have a conversation, and we become friends. Here's the problem. Car broke down. Oh my gosh. I'm stuck by the side of the road. Biggest tragedy ever. Or I'm waiting for the tow truck and I get to read a book.
Exactly. It's like,
Wow.
It's like the universe slows us down or gives us opportunities to practice to come back. I know my dogs do that for me. If I'm in my head too much, I have a little girl that will come and start pawing at me if I'm in my head, and brings me to the present, and I stop, I play with her, I enjoy her, and then she goes off and does her thing. But it's just this beautiful tool, right? That she just snaps me out of my brain. And I've been going for walks and noticing the one thing that you said yesterday that really struck me, and I'd like to address it too, is that it's not just things. We started with things, right? So my cell phone, when I looked at my cell phone, I'm like, oh, it's everything I have to do, right? Oh, I have to look at my Facebook. I have to respond to this. I have to, right? I have to look at all my messages, look at my calendar, right? But it's just a phone.
You define its relationship to you, and that's the hierarchy.
Right?
You decide the nature, the frequency of communication with all objects, all people, all ideas, your own birth, your own death, your own childhood, your respiratory, you actually define it.
So the part that I love so much, I have to say, I actually understood the song from the Beatles, Let It Be. I was like, oh my God, they were saying this how long ago? But if you don't have the viewpoint, you miss it.
Yeah, they're all talking about the same thing. And like Bob Marley, when he says, could you be loved? All these different gurus, like they can say it in many ways, grant beingness, allow. There's so many different ways we can say the same thing. What matters most is that you get the skill of it, that you practice with objects first, because it's easiest. Then you practice with non-charged relationships with people, like at the coffee shop. First you allow, and then the next step is you can tune into the things around you. You can tune into the person making your coffee and really say, wait a second, this is another amazing being. And you will see that in spite of all the past things that have happened, this particular technique allows you to feel joyous, meditative, and serene, even in traffic. You just have to apply it.
And what I love about this is, and you haven't said this yet, is how much time do we spend doing this?
Yeah, so this is a 2-second technique.
How many?
Like really, 2 seconds.
So what does that look like?
2.
Just speak out loud, like the mind part of it.
All right. So first you practice a little bit. You practice on some objects. You go for a walk. You allow the plants to be. You allow the tree to be. You get the general kind of concept. And then in the morning, when you walk out to the kitchen and your spouse is grumpy, and what you do is you say, okay, I'm going to do my practice, and you allow whatever their expression, whatever their experience, whatever their state of being is, you allow it to be completely for 2 seconds without thinking about it, without figuring it out, without solving it, without doing anything.
So without judging it.
Without judging it, without taking an action on it, without doing anything. You just allow it and see what happens. Then you can do it for another 2 seconds. And the moment you do this, that you allow, you're immediately giving yourself permission to be at the same time as you give the other permission to be. And it's so simple that we forget to do it. But if you practice it, what you will see is that you have a hidden fear that will lead to like inaction or not doing, or then I won't handle my life. The opposite is true. Because when you allow something to be, like for instance, imagine this. Maybe you've gone through a time in your life where you're depressed and you're laying in bed and you're not doing your laundry. Your laundry's in a pile on the ground.
That's never happened to me. No, I'm kidding.
No, me neither. I don't. I'm just making this up. I have no idea.
Stop looking into my past.
So just imagine, not you, somebody else. It's laying in a bed and bad things have happened and you haven't been taking care of your stuff. And you wake up and there's the laundry. And instead of the normal pattern is to look at it and be like, oh, I'm really a terrible person. I can't even do my laundry. Which is not allowing.
Yeah, I've done that.
What if you look at the laundry and you're like, oh, pile of dirty laundry. I see that there's some whites in there, darks in there. Oh, is that a towel? Now, is that towel some mold, or is that peanut butter on the corner of it? Huh. I guess I could separate that and put it into the laundry, or not. I could hire someone to come and deal with it, or I could throw it out, or all of a sudden, the moment you allow, you begin to perceive it. And then when you start to perceive it, you're not fighting against it. Now, how easy is it to do the pile of laundry? That's the secret of it, is that the mind has this kind of like hidden dark force that wants to sabotage you. I'm not going to go into that heavily now. But what that'll manifest as right here is like, you'll think, oh, that laundry, I'm a terrible person. And all of a sudden you'll start poisoning yourself. It's just laundry.
I love this, Ray. You're so, I love that you make it so fun and easy. So here's the cool thing for those of you that are listening. Oh my God, I'm so excited. If this is like, oh, okay. I know Bobby, my producer, is like nodding along with you. He's like, yep.
All the time.
Exactly. What's wonderful is Ray is going to be giving you a gift. She has been doing a series of 4 classes going into a bunch of different aspects of this much deeper. So you can actually get these tools in your life, but you have to stay tuned. I'm going to hold them hostage.
Yeah, hold them hostage. It's only going to get better.
But just let it be. And we're gonna head to a really quick break, and then we will come back. And I'm really excited because there's another aspect of this that I want you to share, which this is going to transform the way you handle yourself and how you talk to yourself. So make sure you stay tuned. We'll be right back.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Are you hoping to grow your business but not sure how? Has your business flattened out? It may be your messaging. This is Maureen Famiana with MEF Media. I've been in the TV broadcasting business for more than 30 years, and I enjoy helping businesses and entrepreneurs go to the next level. It's about strategy and branding, finding the right story to tell, and then getting media exposure. I'm here to help you grow your business. Find me on Facebook or my website at MEF Media, and let's launch your next chapter today.
A few years ago, my skin was a mess. It was dry, lifeless, and aging fast. My busy travel schedule teaching yoga across the world was really catching up on me. I tried everything I could find, and it just got worse. So I created my own product based on 100% natural ingredients, and what a difference. Now my skin is glowing and radiant, and I look and feel 10 years younger. The serum I used is called F3. It's our best seller, and I've created a whole range of products to suit all skin types. So if you want actual results using 100% natural skincare, visit formulaflawless.com.
Don't turn it off now. You need this stuff. Tampa Bay's Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hey, everybody. Well, it's Christiana. Welcome back to Clarity Corner. I have special guest Ray Indigo, Master Yogi here, just of one of many of her incredible qualifications. And we were talking about how you can start maintaining a clear mind. If you missed anything, my gosh, go back and check in. It's going to be life-changing for you. So Ray, before the break, we were talking about being able to start letting something be. So letting a thing be, letting an object. And I didn't realize how much I grasp and control. They talk about this all the time, right? We're always like grasping, and they talk about non-attachment. But what you did is you gave us this tool in such like a little itty bitty microcosm that I can actually see, oh my God, I grasp all the time.
Yeah. So a lot of my work has been taking these higher teachings. I mean, I do these courses in the Himalayas with advanced masters, 10 days in a cave. It's awful. They suck. But at the end, you have honestly, it's hard stuff. And at the end, you have a realization. And then what I realize is I'm like, why don't they just teach the actual realization as a simple thing? Because what do we need? We need people to have things that work immediately. So this thing, which seems very simple, of just allowing, like looking around you and saying, oh, I allow the pillow. I allow the ground beneath me. Mm-hmm. I allow the beings around me. I allow the flowers. I allow everything. It sounds like a little bit hippy dippy, or it sounds like non-attachment, but it's a very fast technique if you can just get the integrity in your heart of practicing it.
And it's true. I did that. The one thing that you talked about that really was life-changing for me just in the last 24 hours, which has been amazing, is how I talk to myself. Like when I get up in the morning and I'm self-critical, because clearly that's not what I do. No, right? But I do.
Never.
Right. But you were talking about, this is how you even talk about yourself. Like, just allow it. Like my thoughts as they come and go. Can you speak into that? Because that has been like life changing. I'm in the car and they're like, all these crazy thoughts are coming up. And I'm like, okay, just let it be. It's not going to take me under. And what I don't want to share it. I want you to share the concept and we can have more of a conversation on it.
Well, so essentially here again, we are talking about a hierarchy. So we practice with something more dense, object, and then more complicated, other human beings, even more complicated and less dense, and something that we think of as our identity is our inner monologue.
Oh, yes.
So a big part of my work is speaking to people and reminding them, what if you just liked yourself right now? Yeah, what if you liked your big belly or your little belly or your thick legs or your thin legs or your tallness or your shortness or your crazy hair or your perfect hair? What if you just unreasonably, for no reason at all, decided, I'm just going to like me? But you don't have to do it for too long. Just give me a minute of powerful self-like, and then you can go back to putting yourself down and all those other things and decide which one was more effective.
Well, you were talking about how you've worked with really like high-end models, and tell me about that.
So we have this idea that when we achieve like a perfect body and, we're young and perfect skin and all of this, that then we have the right to feel good about ourselves. Well, I've done a lot of, in my past life, production of photo shoots and media training and all of this. And one of the things that really taught me a lot is I'm working with like really, women that are 6 feet tall and a size 0. And they have perfect skin and long, perfect hair, and they hate themselves. They just, you take a picture and it's like perfect. Like you yourself are like, oh my God, if only ever. And they see it and they're like, oh my God, my belly and this and this and this and this. And then it made me really realize, there's something hidden, this dark, collapsing space force. In yoga, we would call it Sa. You could call it the Yin, the force of surrender. This thing that's sitting there and wants you to look at something and make it ugly. Mm-hmm. And And then you have a consideration that if I get to this point, if I lose the weight or if I gain the weight, or then I'll give myself permission to be. And it destroys the whole life. So I worked with these women. I had one woman that was just absolutely gorgeous. And after 3 years of working with her, she hated every photo shoot, and it was really good. They were like some of the best photos ever. I had to really confront this because it's in me. I have the same voice, and it's in every single student, regardless of external qualities.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want people to realize is that you, just by spotting this and spotting this voice of self-criticism, and everyone takes its own form. And what do we normally do? We like, oh no, I'm criticizing myself. That's not spiritual. I need to stop it. What if you, leads you to then another.
Because now I get to beat myself up again, right?
Now you get a second round. It's like
another lashing on top of the current lashing.
So what if, and this is, you can just try it and see if it works. What if when that voice that you wake up in the morning and you see yourself in the mirror and your one eyebrow's over here and the other one's over there and your hair's all crazy and you've got pillow face? What if you looked in the mirror and you were like, yeah, I'm going to just allow that. Well, what if you just loved yourself like you were? It doesn't mean you can't change and go to the gym or put on a clean shirt or whatever it is that you feel like you need to do. But you can do it from a place of allowing yourself to be.
Yeah. I did that this morning, and I tell you, it was it seems real. Now it seems like you mentioned this.
Simple.
It's very hippie. It feels very hokey, because it's too easy, right? We're sold on if it's complicated, it'll work. But you and I completely agree that the more simple it is, the more truth it is. And so I did that this morning, and my God, I had such freedom. That whole monologue of where I then keep going and beating myself up throughout the day for whatever. I was like, wow, okay. Thank you for everything that you do for me. Oh my gosh, thank you. And what's so interesting, remember I told you I was having a problem with my heel? It stopped hurting.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It stopped hurting. I had plantar fascia. I couldn't walk. I had to take the handicap cart at the Bucks game, but it was really fascinating. And also I was teaching on Friday with a group of people and really addressing this way of taking yourself out and just simple corrections. And that they wanted more of that, because it doesn't matter everything that you pile on top, because if you don't master this, that's just all these more judgments you get to add to what you're already doing. So it's almost like you're whipping yourself worse.
The criticism doesn't work on other people nor on yourself as much as we have this concept of constructive criticism. It just doesn't work. You know what works? Allow and communicate. So for instance, if I allow, I wake up and I see myself in the mirror and the judgment comes in and I'm like, hey there, old friend judgment. Good to see you this morning. We're up bright and early. Welcome today. And you kind of have this viewpoint. Do you know what comes after that? Is just by allowing that to exist without the need to, again, fight against it.
Mm-hmm.
You get this vast expanse of a clear mind. Now you have a choice. Instead of having to push yourself around and drag yourself around, the moment that you're okay with, first off, loving yourself, second off, if the criticism voice, love that too. Hey, it's you. Oh, old friend, you've been with me my whole life. You make friends with it. And then what you see is that afterwards, it clears it. And all of a sudden, it's you and other yous. And now what do you want to do with the rest of your day? There's all this resistance.
I love that. So we only have about 7 minutes left where you and I can chat. So I wanted to, you have a free gift. You've been putting on a series. You have, I just want you to share just briefly about your dad and how it's shifted your year and what you're now sharing these hidden teachings, right, that people don't know. And I would love for you to share your 4-class series that's coming up where you're going to give that away to people. And even if you just do that, it will change your life.
Oh yeah, this series of lectures, they're super useful, super valuable. So last year, March 31st, 2021, my father passed from cancer all over his body, and we were very close, to say the least. He worked side by side with me for a lot of the yoga stuff. He was a yogi, and I grew up in a yogic household. And when he passed, like I really had a choice to get really, 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 really sad for a long time, or to take everything that he'd done. I'm trying not to break up right now.
No.
Yeah, no, but let's just say it. Let's be real. To take like everything that mattered to him and try to give it like some more legs, try to get it out in the world. And so I started to deal with my own sadness, offering just all of this, like the real stuff in yoga, not how to put your leg behind your head, because that's not going to make you a better person, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it makes you a worse person, you know,
Yeah.
But the real stuff, the serious stuff that transforms the space of your heart, your mind, your experience, your relationships. And right now for this year, what I'm offering is these series of lectures, which are all, you can attend them live and ask questions or watch the recordings, that are how to clear the space of your mind in different ways. And tomorrow is the next one. It's at 12:30 p.m. Miami time. And this one is all about stress. So I call it clearing out your stress closet.
I can't wait for that one.
It's gonna be super fun. And the whole idea is to stop with the complicated spirituality, because we're all here together, and it's not that hard.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit of attention, but we think it takes a lot, so we don't do it. But I'll tell you this, a little bit of allowingness in the life, a little bit of just being without having to make something one way or the other, and your whole life will unfold differently. You'll have different experiences. You'll furrow your brow less. You'll tense your fascia less. Your heel won't hurt because that's tensing the fascia.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
So,
well, and I didn't realize how much force I put out controlling my environment, and I think that I'm doing the right thing, right? Like I'm handling my stuff, but I'm doing it from control. So it's not actually me controlling it. It's like my mind wanting to control. And as I've been able to really just embrace this information, like I said, you know, I was in the dental chair. Who knew that I could laugh in a dental chair and go, wait a second, I think I'm getting a jaw massage from the drill. That's awesome. And I started giggling. He's like, that has never happened. Because I just made it funny, because I had my wits about me, and just being able to put some of these into practice, even if you do it poorly. Just, I teach 10-minute magic, do 10 minutes a day. But anytime you notice that you get tense or whatever, just go, what am I not allowing? And just give, and just play.
2 seconds.
Yeah, just play the game.
2 seconds.
That's what I invite you to do. So where can they go to watch these classes?
Detox22.com.
I love, thank you for making it so simple. Detox, DETOX 22.com. So if you want to go, you can watch the past recordings. This is totally, if you want to go deeper, you can, but let's get you started, right? First step, get started. Just go check it out. You can listen to the one where she did clearing the mind is the last one that she just did. You can listen there as well and really get the deeper. And now when you listen from the show and then you go back and listen, you're going to go, aha, because you're going to see it more deeply and it's going to be more useful.
Well, let's just say one thing. You owe it to yourself. It's not your fault that you don't know this. This particular reality that we're in doesn't come with a user manual, and it exploits your loss. So if you're kept in a bad position in life, other things are feeding off of you. You're essentially degenerating. You're moved around like an object. And what I want people to realize is that each of you, you're like life force incarnate. You're like God force incarnate. And with just a little bit of information, you can have an amazing and joyous life. So why not?
Absolutely. And then the other part too, that really just breaks my heart is that if you're in that dull, distracted, disturbed place, you can easily be controlled by others. You can be led to believe other things instead of really listening to what's true for you. And
yeah, of course.
I just want you to start getting my whole goal with having you on, and I want to have you back because you're brilliant. But really is about handling the mind. I empty the clutter of the mind. I get all the stuff out of your mind to like map you out, which is great. Because if it's full, you have, first thing you have to create space. But if you can just start handling these little pieces, you're going to find that you have more control in how your life shows up. And all of a sudden, like my capacity today, right before I had 40 minutes to prepare for the show. And I was like, okay, this is going to be good. And I sat down and in 5 minutes, I had the whole show outlined. I've never done it that quickly before.
Yeah, because you weren't resisting yourself.
Not at all. It was crazy. I was like, oh my God, this is how Ray has had like 20 lifetimes in one lifetime. I'm like, okay, I had 5 hours of it. I'm like, okay, I'll just keep practicing. But it's not that I have to add anything. It was just a joy to say, oh, well, let me handle this. Oh, it was a joy. Let me just handle this.
Oh, here's this.
It was amazing.
Here's another pile of laundry and another one and another one. And
you
now
know,
it's floating and clean and the world is beautiful. Why not?
So you've got 1 minute to wrap up. What would you like to leave people with as a result of today?
The thing I would like to leave people with as a result of today is if you could take just a moment, 30 seconds, 20 seconds, a minute, and for no reason, feel really, really good about yourself, about your body, about your life exactly as it is. With all of your failures, your ambitions, your goals, and your successes, just love it for no reason at all. And only do that for a short amount of time and then give yourself permission to not do it and see how you feel after that. Like, what if you really liked you unreasonably? That's it.
And what she's not telling you is when you do it, you'll have an awareness. So guys, make sure to go to detox, DETOX22.com. You can get access to these 4 classes. You can register for the next one. Also, be sure, I want to give a huge thank you. Ray, thank you so much for being on here. I took so much more out of this than even what I learned yesterday. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. So the clarity action of the week is detox22.com. Go watch those classes and be sure to check out Clarity Corner with Christiana every Wednesday at 5 p.m., where we continue to uncover what's clouding your vision and holding you back from communicating and thinking clearly. We'll get rid of the clutter that's blocking your success because it's not what you know, it's what you implement that makes all the difference. Have a great week, you guys. Thanks.